Hey, my name is Adam from Encounter Wargaming, and today I'm going to do a review of the new Space Marine Codex. So the way this video is going to work, I'm going to kind of go page by page on some of the new rules updates, talk about maybe some of the points changes as well, and just kind of highlight some of the things that I think are really cool, and possibly even the new Primaris units. So stay tuned for that. And here's the book. So I'll just warn you ahead of time, this will be a little bit longer of a video because we're going to sit down and look at the rules and get into the nitty-gritty and just have a little chat. First thing to notice, this is a hardback codex, and so it's very, very, very pretty. Nice artwork on the front and on the insides, really focused on the Primaris Marines. And here we go. So let's open this up. Alright, so nice index. You can see where all the units are. There's a big section of fluff. Oh, very cool. There's that same art piece in full color. So explaining kind of the history, the Emperor, the Primarchs, how that all works. Lots of fluff. Explaining Space Marine organs, even banners, the Codex chapter markings. This is the status of the galaxy, how it is right here. Some of the major, this is all dates and timelines, which is really cool about some of the big battles, kind of setting the tone for where we're at. Indomitus Crusade, it's a big one. Here it is, Ultramar, really fleshing out this Space Marine stuff, or the Ultramarine stuff here. So here's an entire company. You guys can see the force organization, how that's laid out. Some alternate successor chapters, and then it goes into a little bit of fluff on all the different kind of status quo chapters here. Crimson Fist, Black Templars, Imperial Fist, all that stuff. Black Templars organization, Salamanders, Raven Guard, Iron Hands, some other second founding chapters right here. This is a beautiful piece of artwork. Mortarion flying through there, so we know we're getting a model for him. Hopefully a new Great Unclean one for the Nurgle. That would be really fun. There's these big demons down here. I wonder what these are. So Death Guard probably gets some cool new toys for sure. Alright, and then so down to like specific units. There it is. Flip through all that. Alright, I'm flipping multiple pages at a time just to get through it. And so some fluff on all of the unique special characters. I'm really hoping Cavian Shrike gets a new model. That would be really fun. Cavian Shrike. And then some great full color glossy pictures of the studio artwork. Just beautiful, beautiful stuff. Kind of a standard Space Marine army. Then we finally get here into the rules, and so they have the stuff for the chapters kind of laid out with examples, which is neat, and they show no fear. Standard stuff. This is exactly the same as in the index, nothing new here. Space Marine war gear, and then we start getting into the rules. So this is basically the same. All this stuff right here is the same, but now it has all the new Primaris stuff in it, which the index did too. But now we really see like the Primaris librarians in here, Primaris chaplain, Primaris lieutenants. They were in the index actually. Intercessor squads. So they made a big change here. They allow these ones to go. Actually, the Primaris stuff, was it in the index? Yeah, it was. They allow these guys to go up to a unit of 10 now, which is a big deal. This is your basic troop unit for your Primaris Marines, so that's really exciting. The Primaris Ancients in there, regular chapter Ancient. They actually put in regular Space Marine Lieutenants, which is an interesting little bonus for regular Marines. They have some cool Space Marine models coming up, just to be mini Marine Lieutenants, I imagine. Primaris Apothecary, very cool new model. So here's the Reavers, which they actually put under Elites. Interesting for their battlefield role, because I believe they were troops in the easy to build box. So anyway, it's neither here nor there. So I did unboxings for both of these units, which I do an in-depth review of the rules already, so you guys can go check out those videos if you want to. Basically, the Reavers, they got these, like, they can deep strike or they can outflank. That's the difference between the grapnel launchers and the grav sheets. And they got another weapon option, the bolt carbine. So that's kind of neat. The aggressor squad, very interesting little unit. Definitely go check them out and the rules that they did for those guys. There is one, the transport for the Primaris, which I'll definitely review the rules here. Redemptor Dreadnought, same thing. I did an unboxing video for the Redemptor Dreadnought, so you can go get an up-close rules review of this guy. And if it's not out yet, it'll be out soon, within the coming weeks. So, Hellblasters. So here's a big change. So let's get right in here on this one, because you guys will want to see this. Alright, so they basically have 3 ways to fire their guns now, and they actually are different types of guns. So it's not modes of firing, it's actually different guns that they bring to the battlefield, and you do have to pick. So this is the standard one, the strength 7, overcharging to strength 8, and it's rapid fire, right? So you get the 2 shots at 15 inches, because it's a 30-inch gun. So they added this one, the heavy plasma incinerator. So it starts at strength 8 and goes to strength 9, which is cool, because now you're winning land raiders on 3s and most big things, because not a lot of stuff is toughness 9 that I've seen yet. But they're only heavy 1. They get a little bit longer range, but only 1 shot, right? And so being able to bring them up close and get the rapid fire at 15 inches, which is pretty long, makes this one better than that one in my mind. But if you wanted to sit back and get some strength 9 shots, you know, all the power to you. And then they put in, the assault one is up here, so they drop the strength. You can overcharge from strength 6 to strength 7, but you're assault 2, so you're always 2 shots at 2 damage. So that is interesting. It is very appealing. So you don't have to get to that 15 inches to be able to do that. But I found the strength 8 wounding Space Marines on 2s. That's a big deal. So the regular incinerator just still stands true, so I'm glad I got the 2 starter boxes. I'm glad I got 2 sets of those. Alright, so let's keep going through. So we got all of our tanks here. Thunderfire cannons, we're coming into tank territory because we're in the heavy support. Land Raider, Redeemer, Crusader, Razorbacks, Rhinos, Drop Pods, and the Repulsor. So let's definitely take a look at this, because I'm very excited about this. I put two on order at my local game store because I'm so excited about them. Alright, so strength 8, toughness 8, just like a Land Raider, 16 wounds, exactly like a Land Raider, except the save is only 3+ instead of 2+, right? So that's a big difference. So it moves 10, just like a Land Raider. Drops to 5 and 3, I believe, just like a Land Raider as well. 6 attacks like a Land Raider. But this is where it starts to get crazy. So the weapon outfits. So it's equipped with a heavy onslaught Gatling cannon as base. And so that's the 12-shot one, if you're wondering. I reviewed that. That's the same gun as the Redemptor Dreadnought. So go check out that video if you want to see more on that. So twin heavy bolter. An Iron Hail heavy stubber. So wondering what Iron Hail is. Basically gives you AP, right? AP -1. Icarus Iron Hail heavy stubber. So one that's shooting the sky. That's basically what Icarus means now. So anything that's called an Icarus is basically +1 to hit flyers, -1 to hit ground units. Okay. 2 Crack Storm grenade launchers and 2 Storm bolters and auto launchers. Okay, the auto launchers, it's not a gun, it's just an ability per se. Okay, so we can review that in a second. And then the options here to switch out. All right, here. So you can go from heavy bolters to twin last cannon. That's on the turret, right? You can go heavy onslaught Gatling cannon to a last talon. So you just kit this thing out with last cannons. A last talon is a 2-shot last cannon, essentially. What's the difference? Actually, what's the difference between a last talon and a twin last? Basically nothing, right? Yeah, twin last, heavy 2, strength 9, -3 DC. Yeah, it's the exact same profile. So, oh well. I don't know why they just don't name it like that. where is here? Trade the Icarus Iron Hail Heavy Stubber with the Icarus Rocket Pod, which is the same as what's on top of the Redemptor Dreadnought, so go check that out. Definitely do that. It's strength 7, which is just so much better for killing stuff in there. Because most flyers are toughness 7. Maybe some of them are toughness 6, like the Eldar ones. I'm not really sure. Alright, and you can take an additional Iron Hail Heavy Stubber. I wonder if that means you can switch this Iron Hail Heavy Stubber with a Rocket Pod as well. Oh, this Rocket Pod could be Storm Bolters or Frag Storm Grenade Launchers too, which is interesting. Just to keep it cheap and give you different options for that. And so let's look at some rules. So it's a hover tank. Distance and ranges are always measured from the hull, even though it has a base. So that's all that means, is just to solve that issue. Repulsor fields, subtract 2 from any charge rolls made against it. So I like that rule a lot. So it means you can use it as a blocking tank. It'll just be a lot safer. You can leave it out there and like bait some people with some long bomb charges with it, and then just be like, psych, you missed. It has machine spirit, so you can move around and not suffer a penalty for your heavy weapons. And the auto launchers, okay, this is kind of neat. So instead of shooting in the shooting phase, you can use your auto launchers and you get -1 to hit. So it's basically smoke. Alright, and so that's that. I did want to, where was the... must have been 2 Crack Storm Grenade Launchers. That's what I want to see what they do. Crack Storm Grenade Launchers, 18 inches, Assault 1, Strength 6. So it's basically crack grenades. That's pretty cool. 2 Crack Storm Grenade Launchers base. It's just like chuck crack grenades and stuff. Alright. And it can transport, this is big, transport 10 Primaris Infantry. If you take a Gravis Armor dude, he takes up 2 slots, okay? So there it is. So you can put Gravis Armor Captain in there, but he takes up, so you have to put a squad of 8, and then your Gravis Armor Captain if you wanted to load that in there. Or if you're doing all Gravis Armor dudes, you could take 3 Aggressors and your Gravis Armor Captain if you wanted in there. You could not take a squad of 6 Aggressors. You'd have to do 5 to fit them in a repulsor. So that's an interesting little thing there. But it doesn't fly, so you can fall back and shoot with this thing, which is neat. Alright, let's zoom back out and keep going through this, because there's some really awesome stuff to come. Storm Ravens, Storm Talons, and then Reboot Guilliman. So there you go, 18 power level. You know, which is actually probably not a lot considering how good he is and how good he makes your army. So here's your, like, all the weapons, what they do. Great battle scene to kind of split the sections here. I love this part right here, and if you guys can see this way up in the top, it's just like ranks and ranks of infantry coming out of whatever that is there, the cathedral or castellum or whatever. So here's where we get into like the nitty gritty of the special rules, okay? So they added a rule for all Space Marine units. They get Defenders of Humanity. So if you use them in a Battle-Forged army, all of your troops gain this ability, okay? And it's basically objective secured from 7th edition. So if you're on an objective, the player that controls it is the person with the most models normally. But a Space Marine, no matter how many models are on it, if a Space Marine troop unit is there, he takes it. Very, very cool. You have to be battle forged, and it is your troops units only. So interesting little thing to think about. Chapter tactics are in effect on high. They have some chapter specific ones. Now there have been some leaks on the internet that tell you exactly what this is. Raven Guard are interesting, right? Subtract 1 from any to hit rolls when shooting at Raven Guard units if they're more than 12 inches away. So cool, very cool. I think Raven Guard will definitely get competitive with that. Ultramarines 1 is very cool as well. They can fall back and still shoot, but if they do that, you're -1 to hit. Okay, so can't be too crazy with it, but you know, you can put yourself out there and not feel bad about it. Anyways, so Iron Hands basically get Feel No Pain on a 6. Salamanders, this is really neat too. Reroll a single failed hit roll and a single failed wound roll made for a Salamander's unit with this tactic each time it shoots or fights. So that's great. That's really cool. Black Templars reroll failed charges. White Scars, they can advance. When it does that, it moves an extra 2. And in addition, they can still charge in a turn in which they fell back. So they can fall back and charge. That's really cool. So they could, if it's a unit with fly, then they can, so I'm thinking like Inceptors, right? They can shoot, charge, duke it out in combat for a little bit, and if they're still in combat in your turn, you can fall back, shoot, because you have fly, and then still charge. So Inceptors are actually kind of cool for White Scars, for sure. Alright, now this is the biggest change from 7th to 8th that we've seen, and this really outlines how they want you to play the game right here. And this is your stratagems, okay? So they're army-specific stratagems. We've had the generic ones already, the reroll, the counteroffensive, and all that. But these ones are other really cool ones. So I'll just like talk about kind of some of the individual ones. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I'll give you a brief description of kind of what they're thinking. Okay, so they have some that affect how you build your army. Okay, so for example, you can spend command points to get extra relics. So that's interesting, right? Some are for unit-specific things, okay? So let's do this one, Kill Shot, okay? So it's 1 command point, and if you use the stratagem in the shooting phase, any predators that are within 6 inches of 2 other predators, you can add 1 to the 2 wound rolls for all of the predators' attacks that target a monster or vehicle. So like, your predators just become anti-tanky in a big way. But you got to take 3 predators, right? So they're allowing you to theme your army, which is really cool. One of my favorites. So there's unit specific ones. There's ones that affect how you build your army. And then there's also chapter specific ones. So I'll read you the Raven Guard one because I like Raven Guard. And this one is, you can set up a unit in the shadows, okay? So instead of deploying it on the battlefield, you say, this unit's in the shadows! And before the first round, but right before the first turn begins, so it's after you roll C's and everything, they come out of the shadows, okay? So you set them 9 inches away from enemy models. So it's kind of like this weird deep strike that happens right before the game starts. And it can be really decisive if Raven Guard if they know they're getting the first turn, okay? If they know they're getting the first turn, they can set up, let's say, a unit of 10 Hellblasters, like right up in your face, that'll just rapid fire you on turn 1 and charge you on turn 1, or some big crazy combat unit like aggressors that just charge you on turn 1, right? I mean, it's totally nutty, and I love it. And so, alright. And then there's ones that are like countering your opponent's stuff, like the Auspex scan, which if anything comes down on you, you can shoot at it with one of your infantry units. Certain things are weapon specific, like there's a heavy bolter one. It's 1 command point, and you just roll 1 shot for your heavy bolter, and it does D3 wounds. You don't have to roll the wound or anything, D3 mortal wounds, which is pretty cool. So you're in that tight spot, you need your heavy bolter to pull something off right quick, and you just pull the heavy bolter stratagem on it. I forget what it's called. Anyway, let's get on to the Warlord Traits. So this is neat. They split it up into two sections. So you have some generic Space Marine only Warlord Traits, but then you also have chapter specific Warlord Traits. Okay? So one of my favorites here is Storm of Fire. Each time you roll a to wound roll of 6 or more for friendly chapter unit within 6 of the Warlord, it gets another AP. So you just increase the AP. You make its AP better. That's what that means. So don't get confused with all the minus AP plus, it gets +1, blah, blah, blah. So it just gets better AP. So if it's 0, it becomes -1. If it's -1, it becomes -2, etc. We're smart enough we can figure that out. And then I'll read one of the chapter specific ones. So the Raven Guard one, Silent Stalker. Enemy units cannot fire Overwatch at your Warlord. That's pretty cool. So you have like an alpha strikey warlord who drops down. You can charge that flamer unit, right, and bait out that overwatch and take it. So that, like, save yourself from that. Like, I had to fight a Tau Ivra Forgeable Battlesuit. Does 3d6 shots with its big flamer that do 3 damage each at AP -2, and it's like strength 6 or something. So it's just like terrifying. So if you could make that not Overwatch against you, that's a big deal. So here's the relics. Some of the old classics, like the Shield Eternal, have made it into this one. So this is kind of neat. This is how it works now. 3-up invuln save, and any damage they take, they suffer as halved, rounding up. So there you go. I won't read all of them. There's some cool ones in there, but I don't want to spoil all the stuff. They did expand the psychic powers. Okay, so let's take a look at this. We have... they're all unique, okay? Are there some of them the same? Yeah, so some of them are the same as what they were in the index, okay? Some of them are not. So Veil of Time, I think this one's the same. Reroll charge, advance, and they always fight first. Oh, so that's pretty cool. Might of Heroes. Yeah, 1 strength, toughness, and attacks. Yep, null zone. So those 3 are the same, but they added 3 more. Fury of the Ancients. Roll 3d6, charges up on a 7. Visible model. Within that range. Okay, so within 3d6 range. Draw an imaginary line straight between the psyker and that model. Each enemy unit that this line passes over suffers a mortal wound. So kind of cool. Just neat little extra 3 extra spells for them. New tactical objectives. And then just some more great artwork before we get to all the points at the back. And so they did, like, when you get this codex, do go through it, because they dropped points on things like Inceptors and all of that, and a couple other things. So go through it. All of your lists that you've made will be a little bit less points, because they have dropped the points on some things for this. So there you go, guys. That is, in a nutshell, the Space Marine Codex for 8th edition, and it's really setting the tone for what codexes are going to look like in the future. So guys, as always, that's our review of Codex Space Marines. If you like this video, then I would love if you could just go right here and hit subscribe to our channel, so you can just always be informed when new content comes out. And then if you really like this video, I would love if you just go down here into the video description below, where you can see the link to our Patreon page. Don't be scared. So Patreon is a really cool thing. It helps us do all the things that we do on the channel. You can support us for as little as $1 a video, and that helps us do things like keep the lights on, pay for our internet bill, and you know, make new terrain, and making sure we're always keeping things fresh and exciting for you guys. One of the big things we're looking at doing is getting a studio so that we can film games in the quiet, because our gaming space is starting to get loud. The best time to film is in the evening when people are off work, right? But of course that means everybody's off work. So it just goes towards things like that. You can also support us for $2 a video, in which if you are with us for a year, then we give you free swag every year. So that's pretty awesome. So go ahead, go to our Patreon, check that out, and become a patron of Encounter Wargaming today. Guys, that's it. We love you. Thank you to all of our current patrons who are the ones shouldering this burden right now. And guys, we will see you at our next encounter.